Thank you all for coming out today to the 2022 Veterans Day ceremony. And fortunately, the weather has played ball with us once again. I'm really excited about being here. This has been a great week. I've been at all the schools. And what I would like to do first is we're going to start off with our ceremonial portion. So at this point, Commander, post the colors.
Stand. Ho!
Please stand. Huh.
Order! Ho!
Up, down. Peace. Forward, march.
Now we will present each service flag, accompanied by a beautiful rendition of their hymn by our school chorus.
First to fight for the
United States Army.
build the nation's might, and the Army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the Army goes rolling along. Then it's high, high, hey, the Army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. For wherever we go, we will always know that the Army goes rolling along. From the halls of
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Marine Corps.
to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Navy and the United States Merchant Marines.
Wishing you a happy voyage home. Off we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Air Force.
Down we dive, scouting our flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, we'll go down in flame. Hey, nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force. We're always ready for
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Coast Guard.
we place our trust in thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save, or fight and die, I Coast Guard, we are for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Space Force.
Guardians beyond the blue, the invisible front line, war fighters brave and true, boldly reaching into space. There's no limit to our sky, standing guard both night and day. We're the Space Force from on high.
Thank you, chorus. Now, if I please could call to the podium the chaplain of our American Legion, Mr. John Vandal, for our opening invocation.
That's a little tall for me. Dear Lord, please bless our veterans who wore the faded uniform. May they know that their peace of a career well served and service completed. Give them our thanks for the doors opened, paths paved, and battles fought. Give them our thanks for the freedom preserved, future defended, and the ideals embodied. Bless the veterans who defended our country with strength and selfless devotions. Amen.
Now, at this time, I'd like to invite our Girl Scouts forward to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Military members, present arms. Here's that. Ho!
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hold on. Ho!
Can you see our dawn's early light? What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the guns bursting in air. It proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order.
Order! Ho!
Parade.
Thank you very much. Well, before I get going here, being the parent of 4 teenagers, I know there's a lot of parents out there who lived through COVID, lived through Zoom, remote learning, all that other stuff. I think we called it lockdown. Well, I can think of no better theme to break us out of this than for us to thank the man up above, thank you, and welcome back our most precious resource in this city, our students. Ladies and gentlemen, a reading from the American Legion. The service of American veterans never truly ends. Even when they hang up their military uniforms for the last time, many still choose to protect us. Today is a day to honor all of the men and women who served in the United States military. It is about the approximately 19 million U.S. veterans who are still with us today and the millions who have preceded them since the American Revolution. Many serve their communities as first responders, teachers, healthcare workers, or church leaders. Some are business owners, farmers, company workers, or retirees. Veterans are a diverse group represented by men and women of every economic, ethnic, and religious background. They come from every state and territory but are bound by one common commitment: to defend America with their life if called upon. From fighting terrorism, defeating fascism, and liberating slaves, veterans have a record of remarkable accomplishment throughout our nation's history. Military service is not for the faint of heart. Most civilian jobs do not require risk to life or limb. No other occupation subjects employees to criminal charges for disobeying their boss. Unlike members of the military, civilians can live where they want and can quit whenever they want. Transitional challenges, the stress of military life, and feelings of isolation all factor into a suicide rate among veterans that is more than 50% higher than that of non-veteran adults. Homelessness is another tragic outcome that is too often connected to military service. It is estimated that America has 60,000 veterans who are homeless. That is greater than the entire population of Carson City, Nevada. Though veterans comprise approximately 7% of the U.S. population, they are 11% of our nation's homeless. The best way to prevent a veteran from becoming homeless is to hire one. It's not only good policy, but it's smart business for an employer who values skills, discipline, and patriotism. It is fitting that Veterans Day be observed so close to Election Day. It is, after all, the veterans who have preserved our constitutional rights for 246 years. For many of them, this nation was worth enduring long separations from their families, missing the births of their children, freezing in sub-zero temperatures, sweating in the Sahara, sacrificing their health, and far too often losing their lives. Whether it's exposure to burn pits or other toxin, many veterans today continue to pay a high price for their military service. It is up to us to ensure that they always have access to high-quality health care and benefits reflecting the thanks of a great nation. 104 years ago, on November 11, 1918, the guns of the world fell silent. An armistice was signed and the Great Wars was over. Unfortunately, World War I was not the war to end all wars, as many had hoped. Veterans are not only responsible for defending this nation during time of war, but it is the imposing presence of our great military that has acted as a deterrent to would-be aggressors. The veterans of the United States military have not only fought wars, they deserve our gratitude for preventing them. And while today we rejoice and honor the service of America's veterans, we also remember the wise words of General Douglas MacArthur: "The soldier above all other people prays for peace." God bless you all for being here. God bless our veterans, and God bless America. As I mentioned in my speech, for almost 250 years, the United States of America has demonstrated to the world how a peaceful democratic republic conducts transitional power through the ballot box. Today, we have some of our own elected officials here who I'd like to invite to the podium to say some remarks. First, I want to start with a friend to Attleboro, and I've known him since the day I took this job. He goes by the nickname The Hawk, but I would like to invite Representative Hawkins to the podium for a few words. Thank you. Come on up, Hawk.
It's always an honor to be called a friend to the veterans in the city. We have Post 20, Post 115, Post 312, all of whom are active in the community with food insecurity, with our students in the schools, with programs, and we have students here. This is just an amazing community. I want to thank you for all your service from all the different branches and what you do in the community for food insecurity, for everything else. You're a remarkable group. You gave willingly of yourselves in service, and you continue to now in post-service to help us in the community. So thank you very much, and thank you for considering me a friend, Ben. I thank you.
Since taking this job, I can't do this alone. This city has leadership, and I have never, since taking this job, ever been denied a request from our city leadership. As long as I can convince them that it was for the benefit of veterans and their surviving spouses, they always gave me the money and the resources I needed to do my job. So at this point in time, again, in honor of the election process we just had, I'd like to bring forward all the elected members of our city council, who I know a number of them here in attendance, and I know that our city council president would like to just give a few words. So, council members, if you could come forward and be recognized.
Good morning. My name is Jay Delisio, and I'm glad to be joined by my colleagues here today. Councilors at Large Waterman and Conti, Ward 4 City Councilor Michelangelo, Councilor at Large, Councilor Blair, Councilor DeSimone, Ward 6 School Committee, Scott Domenici. It's an honor to be with you all here today on this Veterans Day, here at Lee's Pond. Each year we gather on this spot to celebrate and thank our veterans. Today we celebrate the men and women that answered a call to defend our freedom and liberty across the globe. Veterans Day is the anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. It was the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. Veterans Day is a day where we thank our veterans here with us today and across the globe. Today we remember their service and your service. Whether you served during World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Middle East, other conflicts or missions, you are a hero. Whether you served during wartime or peacetime, you are a hero. Today, we pray for your brothers and sisters who stood next to you, fought next to you, and those who may have fallen in your arms, and they may never have came home. We're sorry for your loss, and we thank them for their sacrifice. In a time where our country is deeply split and divided by red and blue, our veterans united then and still unite under the red, white, and blue. There were times you saw incredible violence, but you've never stopped fighting for peace, for liberty, and for America. On the eve of D-Day on June 5th, 1944, General Dwight D. Eisenhower read the following words on a radio broadcast. It was a broadcast that was going out to the troops that the next day would embark on a mission that would change history. The world of the eyes are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere go with you. Those hopes and prayers are as relevant today as they were 78 years ago. Thank you for your service then. Thank you for your service now. May God bless our veterans. May God bless our men and women serving today. May God bless Attleboro, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, council members, and for all your support to my office. Well, through the ballot box, we gain some people and some people we lose, and we're actually going to be losing a guy who won. So, but I also want to call another member of the leadership of this city, again, somebody who has always backed my office, always done anything and everything he ever could to help out veterans. And before he takes on his new role, I just want to invite to the podium our mayor, the Honorable Paul Heroux, just to say a few words. Paul, come on up.
Good morning. You might notice that Ben didn't give me anything to read today about the Turkish independence. So a little ribbing for Ben for last year. So it's an honor to be here with all of you this morning. And today is a day of celebration. Today is a day to recognize veterans and their contributions to our community and to our country. But as politicians, our job is to serve those who have served. And so that's why when I was a state representative, the state legislature, we prided ourselves on giving everything that we could to veterans. And as in my capacity now working for the city, the city council and I, we do everything we can, as Ben recognized, and thank you for that. We like to give everything we can to serve those who have served. So thank you all for being here today, and Ben, thank you for organizing this event and doing such a remarkable job as a veterans agent for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and good luck to you in your new endeavors. So, at this point, I would like to bring on our guest speaker. And this really hits home for me. And it hits home for every veteran that I knew. I was on active duty prior to 9/11, and I had taken my uniform off for almost 5 years, and decided to start a civilian life and start having children. And about 6 months after my wife and I became pregnant, I received a Western Union telegram, welcoming me back into the military post 9/11, and 30 days later I was in Baghdad. But I can tell you that even prior to me getting back from combat in 2005, I was running into veterans that were going in and out of military operations 4 and 5 times. And this is extremely stressful on families, employers, and the community. But that's what a war effort takes, sacrifice. So I think it's fitting that this Veterans Day, as opposed to having a veteran speak to us, I wanted to invite up to the podium a spouse of a veteran, somebody who had to endure these deployments and hold down the fort and all that. So we found a perfect speaker. She's a dear friend to Attleboro and to the American Legion, the VFW here. So I'd like to call to the podium Tanya Rio.
So the guest speaker is present. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Ben, for that kind introduction. I also want to thank the VFW and the American Legion for inviting me here today to speak, and all of our Attleboro elected officials for the wonderful support that they give to our military and to our veterans. I have a whole speech here, so about 25, 30 minutes from now, you should be ready to go home. So, I'm honored to speak to you about my experiences as a military spouse and the trials and tribulations, the challenges and issues that we may have gone through as a military family. About 4 years ago into our marriage, I was heavily pregnant with our second child, and my husband had asked me to pick him up from his weekend drill. I remember him asking me to come and to meet with the Family Readiness Group, or otherwise known as the FRG, and his suggestion that I should be involved with them. At that time, I didn't know that he and his unit were expecting a deployment to Bosnia very soon, and that he was trying to connect me with others that were going to be going through the same experience that I was. Because no matter how much your family, your non-military family and friends want to be there for you during deployment, they don't understand what you're going to be going through, like those that are going to be going through it with you. The FRG was a godsend. They were there with me the day that my husband left for his deployment. And my 4-year-old son, Adam, who at that time was not very happy with his dad leaving, he was screaming for everybody to hear, "Daddy, don't go," over and over again. Now that was heartbreaking to me and to everybody around us, but it was especially heartbreaking to my husband, who had to turn away and climb onto that bus, unable to comfort him. The FRG was a great distractor and good way to stay connected. This group of moms, dads, wives, siblings, and children banded together and built a strong system of support that made the next 9 months, if not bearable, at least, if not better, at least bearable. I grew a lot as an adult at this time. I was only in my 20s when this first deployment had happened. And I became more independent and confident in myself during that. Something that would have probably happened naturally, but happened a lot quicker because of this circumstance. As my husband's deployment was ending, I was asked to speak for a local TV station, just because I had two small children and we were the prime audience for them to want to get out there. They asked questions about how I felt and how I felt being a single parent, which is something that does happen to a lot of the military spouses when their husbands get deployed, and to husbands when their wives get deployed. Sometimes I think it's even harder for them. They asked questions, and I spoke about the FRG and how I had grown and how confident I had become. I was so happy to be able to share this experience with them, about the friends that I had made in the FRG. I admitted, yeah, sometimes I cry at night. I mean, that's to be expected. I was so excited to tell my family and friends that I was going to be on the news and that, when it was going to be on, and then it comes on. And do you know, out of the 10 minutes that they interviewed me, the only thing that got on there was, yeah, I sometimes cry. Made me sound so sad, and I was so confident in myself. I was pretty upset about that. So when my husband came home, life was different. He was exposed to the worst of humanity, and he saw a lot of disregard for life. So he wanted things to be normal and go back to the way things were. But I didn't want that. I liked my new responsibilities, and I wanted to keep them. Things were difficult as we tried to put our lives back together and figure out our shared responsibilities. My husband had changed. He kept to himself a lot, and his lack of communication became an issue in our marriage. In truth, many military marriages. This one is the most common reason for divorces in the military. We had to work hard to create a new normal within our family, and succeeded. One great thing that did come from this Bosnian deployment is that through my FRG volunteering efforts, a new career came into place for me. And in 2003, I began that career with the Mass National Guard Family Program. This next step in my life was very exciting, and I learned a lot working with military families and veteran service organizations such as the VFWs and American Legions, the DAVs, and so many other nonprofits that are out there to support the military, their families, and the veterans out there. In the next 10 years, I collaborated with the community and was grateful for those veterans that continued to serve within our community and who wanted to support our deployed and their families here at home. The goodwill and kind hearts that are out there are willing to take the time and support them are amazing and really, really make your heart feel great. A common comment that I had heard in the FRG and in my job working with the National Guard was that these families didn't feel like military families. Because they lived in our cities and our towns and not on an installation, they didn't have neighbors that were going through the same thing that they were going through. And they didn't have the resources that military installations have at their hands for those military families. The veteran community played a huge role in filling that gap. Well, in 2006, my family went through our second deployment, this time to Iraq. We were older. I didn't have an infant this time, and instead I had two sons, one a preteen, which was hard enough to deal with alone, and the other one in an elementary school age. This made it easier and harder at the same time. Easier because they were more independent, but harder because they were aware and understood the danger that their dad was in every day. The good news was that communication was a lot better at this time. We had phone calls that we were able to make all the time, talk to him on Skype. So that made it a lot easier for the communication within our family. It's funny, in my job with the family program, I'm always advising parents, tell your kids' schools about any deployments or any changes in your military life. What did I not do? I didn't tell my kids' schools. So when I got that letter coming home in the backpack one day from my oldest son's school saying that he had been tardy almost every single day and that they wanted to talk to me, I broke down. I could not believe that I put myself and him in this position. I had been having issues balancing my work, trying to get the kids both into two different directions to school at the same time, something a lot of families have. I went in and talked with the guidance counselor to explain the difficulties that we were having. It was the best thing that I did. Talking to the school staff and any coaches really took the weight off my shoulders, and they wanted to help, not just us, but other military families within the school. Now, this deployment lasted 16 months, 7 months longer than that of the first deployment. That's a long time to be apart. I was involved in the FRG again, and again, it was an amazing group. But this year, our FRG was adopted by the VFW, their program, Adopt a Unit program. This program provided mentorship, financial assistance, and helped build the camaraderie amongst the families here at home. I mean, they did so many things for us. They held fundraisers, and they held spaghetti dinners and all different types of dinners, Easter egg hunts, Christmas party. They really helped keep the morale of our families up, and they were very successful with that. So when we ended up, my young husband ended up retiring after 22 years, and believe me, I felt like it probably more like 60 years. But it was a great experience for us as a military family. I stayed working as in the Mass National Guard in the family program, and we joked that he was no longer going to weekend drills, but I was. So, I continued as the director in the family program until 2020 when I transferred into the employment program. And today I'm helping soldiers and airmen within the Mass National Guard find their career within their civilian life, helping them identify what they would like to do going forward. I also talk to companies about the benefits of hiring veterans and hiring currently serving National Guards members. I help them understand the values that the military instill within our service members, something that can be pretty hard to find today. I often talk about my military family experience to them and share how proud we families are in our veteran and our military loved ones. So I was very nervous about talking today, so I thank you very much for allowing me to come up here and to share my experiences with you. Thank you for your sacrifice and service in this great country. I want to thank my husband, First Sergeant Shane Rio, for everything he does to support me and to support this group. You are the 1% in the nation that, without a doubt, has made a change and a difference. God bless you all.
Behind every great man is a better woman. In 2007, the Wreaths Across America nonprofit group was founded. Since then, the event has expanded to all 50 states to lay wreaths at veteran cemeteries to remember our fallen heroes, honor those who serve, and teach our children about the sacrifices made by veterans and their families. Red is meant to represent valor, blue for justice, and white for purity. The red poppy is a symbol of remembrance and hope, including hope for a positive future and peaceful world. The nation tolls bells on November 11th in honor of the service and sacrifice of its World War I veterans and all who have served in its armed forces. Military installations everywhere pause to toll bells at the direction of the Secretary of the Army, Navy, and Air Force, and the Commandant of the Coast Guard. In the nation's houses of worship, veteran cemeteries, and streets, people gather to toll bells. The firing of 3 volleys over the grave of a fallen warrior has its origin in the old custom of halting the fighting to remove the dead from the battlefield. Once the dead were removed, 3 musket volleys were fired as a signal that the battle could resume. Taps is a bugle call that is sounded as a signal for lights out at the end of a military day during patriotic memorial ceremonies and military funerals conducted by the United States Armed Forces. We will now start our final rendition of our service today with a beautiful rendition again from our school chorus.
Sea to shining sea.
Military members, please render a salute. Commander, take care of your unit.
Red squad, uncan, shut! At the ready! Lock and load! Aim! Fire! At the ready! Lock and load! Aim!
Thank you. I want to conclude today with the proclamation of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Whereas since the Commonwealth colonial days, thousands of men and women have served our country in defense of freedom and liberty. And whereas on November 11, 1918, the armistice was signed in the forest of Champagne by the Allied nations in Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars after 4 years of conflict. And whereas since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans. And whereas there are approximately 388,000 veterans living in Massachusetts. And whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions our veterans have made to our country. And whereas we honor and salute those who served our country throughout the generations with honor, patriotism, and courage. And whereas it is appropriate that all of Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who served their country so that their dedication and sacrifice serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. And whereas in November 2022, the world will commemorate the 103rd anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 a.m., November 11, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Now, therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2022 to be Veterans Day. I want to thank you all for coming here tonight. And we are going to end with our ending benediction, which is going to be presented to us by Air Force veteran himself, Mr. Ed Stanton.
May the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, keep our hearts and minds in the knowledge and love of God. And now unto the eternal and all-wise Creator of the universe and preserver of our nation be honor and glory forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Ed. And before we leave here, let's again give a wild round of applause for our Girl Scouts and our school chorus. Thank you all for coming here tonight. Excuse me, for coming here today. Enjoy the rest of this day. God bless America. God bless all who serve, and God bless the city of Attleboro. Thank you.
Those who lay their dreams aside, choosing honor more than glory, pledging faith with quiet hope. Those whose uniform is courage, yet are unashamed of tears, finding in their love of freedom power stronger than their fears. Sing a song.
Did Amy sing today?
She said they'll play shining sea. As the faithful sing before you, sing the song of liberty. Let us sing for unsung heroes, those who answer freedom's call, those united by one purpose, all for one and one for all. We will sing and not be silenced. We will keep our voices strong. For